crazy new study with scientific evidence. There's something more dangerous than the magma right now, or equally as dangerous. So now we have two problems at Campi Flegrei. And should we collect rainwater to ease that? Absolutely insane and absolutely frightening. If we're smart, we will listen very carefully in this video for you guys. The news that I'm hearing from Campi Flegrei are not getting better. They're getting worse every day. And now there's something more dangerous at Campi Flegrei than the magma rising up. This is absolutely crazy. So now a team led by Stanford University's Tiziana Vanorio and Grazia De Lando from the University of Naples, Federico II, they suggest something different, something potentially more dangerous than the recent theory with the magma rising up. They argue that the main driver of this unrest is not the magma heating everything up, but pressurized geothermal water and vapor trapped beneath the surface. So what is this? They describe a pressure cooker system, a reservoir of fluids sealed in by a cap rock. It's called cap rock, a kind of geological lid that actually heals itself through the formation of mineral fibers. And over time, this cap rock becomes so strong and so tight that pressure could build without escape until it explodes. So wow, guys, before we were so worried about the cap rock layer weakening. So are they saying that this thing is getting stronger and that this is even more dangerous than the cap rock layer weakening and letting the magma through? Campi Flegrei is a supervolcano, a volcano so vast and powerful that its last major eruption has changed the climate of the entire Mediterranean. And now imagine that this volcano is showing signs of pressure, extreme pressure buildup, as we've just seen with the last massive earthquake swarm that was happening May 12th, 13th, and 15th, and then the big one in March. So Italy's gigantic supervolcano has probably entered one of its most dangerous phases. And that's not fear-mongering. This is science. The newest study that has been published about this is shaking up everything that we thought we knew. One thing is for sure, whatever it is, Campi Flegrei is creeping towards something. Best case scenario, phreatic eruption, but worst case scenario, magmatic eruption as well. And I have made a video about this. My last video, it's the officials that are saying this, the civil defense, the president of the INGV. But I want to quote one of my viewers that has commented underneath this last video. So quote, "I'm not a volcanologist, but I am a geologist, and whilst volcano eruptions are in my bag, I know that seeing increased gas emissions, temperature, and earthquakes are a very worrying sign, especially when it's coming from a supervolcano that could cause mayhem around the world. Seeing how close the magma is to the surface also shocked me. I sincerely hope it does not let go because it will devastate large parts of Southern Europe. I'm very worried about that volcano and for the people." I think you can't sum it up better, so thank you for that comment. And Campi Flegrei isn't your typical volcano. It's a massive caldera complex that spans over 100 kilometers. And it's an underground cauldron of fractured rock, boiling fluids, rising heat, a shallow magma chamber or multiple shallow magma chambers that are fed by a deeper lying magma chamber that lies at around 8 kilometers. Over the past decade, residents of Pozzuoli have felt the tremors, the earthquakes. They have seen the ground rise as much that their port is running dry because the land was rising so much that it was pushing the water out. And of course, the residents heard the scientists debate one burning question: is magma on the move upwards again? And you should check the last studies that have come out about that, how close it really is. But now this team of scientists, they say there is something potentially even more dangerous than the magma creeping through. And the last study is dangerous because they found an Achilles heel where the rocks are so brittle in one spot where magma could find a way to the surface. And now we have something that is even worse. The pressure cooking thing that I just mentioned earlier. The fluids sealed in by a cap rock. That can, of course, build up massive, massive pressure. And they call it a silent killer because it doesn't give you a warning. So here's how that works. You have to imagine, put a pot with water on your stove, heat from below, magma, turns the water into steam, but the pressure can't escape until a valve opens. So now imagine the valve is faulty and it's clogged up. The pressure builds up silently. You see no smoke, you see no magma. But one day, boom, that's what happens. Happened to me in the kitchen. I have to admit this because I'm always busy with other things, and I'm sure to many of you it probably happened as well. But this is exactly the concern now. That's what these scientists are telling us that we should be worried about as well. So the hydrothermal system underneath Campi Flegrei is sealing itself, trapping superheated steam. That sounds dangerous. Because we see the fumaroles, especially in the Peschiarelli area, where just in my last video, where the president of the INGV has told us that there's concerning escalation in the Peschiarelli area with land rise, temperature of these fumaroles, and gas emissions. But here, this is interesting. Rainfall plays a key role in this superheated steam that's trapped underground. So every rainfall, every infiltration going through the rocks into the underground hydrothermal system adds more fluid to the reservoir. And unlike magma, which usually gives us signs before moving, such as seismic swarms, degassing, and land rise, which it does give us, right? Water pressure can erupt with almost no warning. So how I interpret this is, now we have two problems at Campi Flegrei, two threats. The magma could cause a phreatic explosion or a magma phreatic explosion or a full eruption. And now we have the pressure cooker that could blow up as well. Think about Japan. Japan has a lot of earthquakes and volcanoes. Mount Ontake in Japan in 2014 had a phreatic eruption. No magma, just steam that, like in White Island, blowing out rocks and debris and magmatic rocks like a I want to say faster than a shotgun. Has ended 63 people with zero warning. Zero warning. Same at White Island, that was the problem. Absolutely devastating event. And that's why this study raises so many red flags. And one thing is clear, this study is not a speculative paper. So they have looked at 24 years of rainfall and groundwater data from Naples, showing how fluid has been slowly recharging in the geothermal reservoir. And then they looked at the seismic tomography from past unrest phases, the one 1982 till 1984, and then the one 2005 until now. And that has revealed earthquake sequences that start shallow and deepen over time. And that's what they're saying is exactly what you expect in a pressurizing system. So once they found that out, they have conducted laboratory experiments to verify that theory. They have conducted that at Stanford's Rock Physics and Geomaterials lab. So not just a small college or something. This was a good research lab. And they have simulated the volcanic conditions at Campi Flegrei using pulverized Campi Flegrei ash, and they crushed tuff, these volcanic rocks. And then under hydrothermal conditions, these rocks quickly formed mineral fibers and they sealed the cracks like a self-repairing lid. That is interesting, guys, because we thought that the opposite is happening to that caprock layer. And they even went as far and they analyzed historical accounts, including the 1538 eruption that has created Monte Nuovo, which was preceded not by lava, but by cracking ground, gas emissions, and swelling earth. All hallmarks of steam buildup, not magma. I want to make one thing clear. There is magma confirmed by other studies at a depth of 4 kilometers. So this study doesn't basically get into that. And that's not the full story. In this study, it wasn't about the magma. So they say that they cannot confirm or deny the presence of magma at intermediate depth. What they definitely acknowledge is that the magma is there at 8 kilometers, but they didn't look at the magma. They looked at the water. And one thing is also clear: the more fractures hydrothermal pressure opens in the crust, the more likely it is that magma will rise through those cracks. So this isn't a choice between just water or just magma. It's a chain reaction, and we need to look a little bit further into this because you might have some questions right now. So sealed pressure builds. Sudden rupture causes a hydrothermal or phreatic explosion. That explosion fractures the crust. That keeps the lid on. And then the magma that is at shallow depth already in an explosive state finds a pathway upward. And the scary part about this is that I've just reported about this in my other video, that now the scientists, the official wording that they use, they're not denying that this thing could creep towards an eruption. What they think is most likely right now, and they're using this to reassure us, is only a phreatic eruption, which is by itself bad enough for the people that live in close proximity. That's why they want to evacuate Pozzuoli and basically everyone that's on the caldera. But this study basically tells us what could come after that phreatic explosion. So to me, this sounds like, oh yeah, don't worry, everything that is now here building up, the land rise, the earthquakes, everything, it could have a phreatic eruption and then everything's good. We won't see like a Monte Nuovo style eruption or like Campania and Ignimbrite, the supervolcanic eruption. But if that theory is right, that this study, and they seem to have confirmed it by reasonable data, explosion fractures the crust, magma finds a way upward because it's everything so brittle, and now we're in eruption territory. And yeah, that could really happen. So this is not reassuring at all. Back in the early 1980s, Campi Flegrei went through a massive land rise, a massive uplift, about 3.5 meters, and it has forced the evacuation of thousands of people, Pozzuoli and some others. But then the system didn't erupt. Why? Possibly because the caprock didn't rupture enough. So the strain, the energy stored underground, was partially released, probably a magma intrusion, but not completely. By now, that caprock layer is weakened. It only has a third of its strength left. That's also confirmed in another study. And now, after basically decades of more slow, silent uplift, seismic swarms, and pressure buildup, scientists believe only a third of the stability is left. So if the next episode is strong enough, it could break the caprock layer. And this time there's less buffer than we had in the 1980s. And you might remember my last video where the head of the civil defense said, we are running out of buffer. We're running out of buffer. Only a third of buffer left compared to the 1980s. And we have a greater escalation right now. And hydrothermal explosions, they go off quicker than magma eruptions. They need less energy to blow. But they may then prime the system for something worse. They may help the magma to come up. And why are they saying this is more dangerous than ever? The system may be driven more by fluid pressure than magma right now, a factor that we barely can detect in real time. That's a problem. Self-sealing rocks mean we have no degassing, no warning. Pressure can build silently for years and then release suddenly. That release may then fracture the cap rock, opening a highway for the magma that's waiting at 3.9 kilometers. And that is being refueled by the deeper lying magma chamber at 8 kilometers. The seismic data, the lab experiments, and historical analogs all support this theory and this risk. And the crust already used up 2/3 of its capacity during the 1980s. So we're operating near the threshold. That pressure cooker pot, the lid, can't hold it down much longer. We're running out of buffer. So what should be done now? The scientists are proposing hydrological management should become a top priority. Controlling rainwater infiltration and drainage systems around Pozzuoli may help reduce pressure buildup. So basically, they want to catch the rainwater and not let it infiltrate into the ground. But how do you do that? You would have to have rainwater catch systems everywhere. And one author of the study, Tiziana Vanorio, she is a local. She's from Pozzuoli. So she said in an interview that this study is not only scientifically important for her, it has also a very personal meaning for her. She probably has a lot of relatives there. So she says, this project is now my goal as a citizen, as a resident of Pozzuoli, not only as a geophysicist. Because this study points out that maybe this unrest is manageable instead of only being surveilled. This study could open a pathway to prevention, in her opinion. I think it's too late for that because magma has risen up. And, magma can find its way to the surface. Anyways, that's the thing. So aside from managing the rainwater, expanded monitoring of not only the seismicity, but also the subsurface fluid movement is crucial. And they're not doing that enough right now. And also public education is needed. Most locals think only magma eruptions are dangerous. But hydrothermal blasts can even be deadlier. This is what they have to understand. Because they strike with no warning at high speed. They're sending volcanic bullets out that you cannot outrun. And what the scientists say, we need a realistic communication from the INGV and the civil protection, not sugar-coated optimism. And that's what they're doing. And despite that this is the fact that they're sugarcoating everything, watch my last video and hear what they said, then you'd be really alarmed because despite the fact that they always say, oh, it's okay, they're mentioning the eruptions, the potential for an eruption and the likelihood for an eruption. We're running out of buffer. That's what they're also saying. Watch that video. I'll put it in the end screen. They are stressing this study is not hypothetical. It's a known hazard, and we've seen it before in Japan, in Indonesia, in New Zealand. Every time it was just steam until it wasn't. So Campi Flegrei might by now be a kettle that's about to boil. This new study definitely doesn't calm any fears, it sharpens them. And if we're smart, we will listen. Not just to the magma that is giving us warning, but also to the steam. So guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, you can support me with a like, share it with your friends, leave me a comment. Do you think it will erupt anytime soon? If you want to support the channel, I have a Buy Me a Coffee site. Link is in the description of this video. You can become a monthly supporting member. And of course, thank you for everyone who's doing that, for the supers, the coffees that keep me going. I always have one brewing. And of course, for all my members, thank you for being members. And I hope to see you safe and sound very, very soon on this channel, and keep yourself busy with the videos here in the end screen. Take care, guys. Bye.